Hey everyone, welcome back after a very long hiatus. The semester kind of got a hold of me. As you may or may not know, I am a faculty member in the psychology department at a local university, and when the semesters get really busy, I don't have as much time for myself anymore. So we are on break until the end of the month, so my hope is that I'll be able to take more time to stream and to get some psychology content out to you and prepare better for my next semester so that I have time to stream even while I'm still teaching classes. I don't have a ton of time today, so I wanted to talk about something that I could be brief on, but also something that has been taking up a lot of my free time because it is mostly an idle type game. I don't have to pay a whole lot of attention to it, and that makes it a good game to play even when I don't have other games to play. So I thought that this would be a fun thing to talk about. And you may have heard of this game before because they advertise like crazy. So the game I want to show you is a mobile game called Raid Shadow Legends, and I want to talk about some of the things that they do to try to get people to spend money in their games, which of course is one of the goals of a mobile game that is generally free to play. But I also wanted to talk about some of the things that make the game compelling, and actually an idea that I've had that I've been working on with a colleague that I think could take some of the elements of this game and make them a little bit less. I don't want to use the term predatory, right? But a little bit less manipulative and a little bit more beneficial to the person who is playing the game and who is the user. And I just realized I was fidgeting with something on my microphone, so that might have sounded really, really bad as I went in and was fidgeting on my microphone. And hello, Noan Mai and King Tavis. Happy New Year to you as well. One of my resolutions is to actually get to hang out with y'all some more on the stream, so I'm very excited to see you, even if I am talking about a not the most compelling game. I know, people don't necessarily call mobile games video games, but I'm going to talk about it anyway and continue to chat with y'all while we do this very long download at the beginning. So, Happy New Year to you both. I think I rang in the New Year with you, didn't I, Noah and Mai? I believe it was midnight when you, or after midnight when you logged off uh, of Durangutang's stream while we were talking about it. And yes, oh no. So you are starting. How are you feeling? So I know that you said that you're starting some isolation, but are you feeling any better? I really hope that you um, are feeling better. And oh, King Tavis, you have is this a winter session or are you just finishing up your fall session? So King Tavis has noted that they are in a marking whirlpool because they are also a faculty member. I am going to turn on a little bit of sound because we are seeing the opening sequence for Raid Shadow Legends. I thought that it would give me a chance. Let me know if the game volume is too loud or too soft. I can't really hear it as well. I have a new setup where I actually have a microphone, a fancy new microphone, instead of just a gaming headset, with a pop filter and everything. This is the first time I'm really getting a chance to use it. I'm hoping that it's going to make the quality of my lectures sound better as well, but also maybe make the quality of these sound better. So let me know if the game volume's a little bit too loud or too soft, or if something's up with the microphone and I can make little fiddly adjustments. King Tavis is still finishing up the autumn term. Oh my gosh. So I am sorry to hear that. We finished up our autumn term just before the Christmas holiday, although I have students who are completing incompletes because just like others, what has been happening is I had a lot of students who were suffering from COVID or other ailments, or who were caring for family members who had COVID, and so I've offered very liberal extensions there. I think that that's a really good thing to do. Oh yes, so this barbarian here does look a little bit like Blanca from Street Fighter 2. Blanca was one of my favorites to play because I liked to cheese the electricity. I was a very cheesy player until I could figure out how to do Hadoukens and uppercuts for Ken and Ryu, and then of course those are the players to play when you're on Street Fighter 2. And Noam Vai, thank you for the feedback on the sound quality. I am glad that it is sounding good. And also glad to hear that you have gotten rid of the fever, but I really hope that those cold symptoms go away soon and that you start to feel better. Keep us posted on that, because I've been thinking about you and how you've been doing. So I am going to get us started in the game so that I can go through this early session and then talk about some of the psychology that I was going to talk about in this game. So I'm going to turn up the game volume just a little bit while we do this opening sequence, and then the game volume becomes a lot less important because there's not really a whole lot of talking in the game. So first it is teaching me how to smack this person around. And we don't seem to have volume at all.
Well shot. Where did
there we
you
go.
learn that? Hunting orcs.
The Arbiter cannot bar me forever, Elf. You and I will have our day. Let's keep moving.
So that's Blanca's voice, apparently. Let me know if that is too loud.
4 of them. Come on. Which of you filth dies first today?
She's got such a good voice.
We really don't have time for this.
Very well. Take them.
That's right. We're going to use our special move now to take them and smack them. Yeah. We are
By
epic.
the light. I'm glad you're on our side.
Oh, I just skipped what he said. He's only on our side because he doesn't
The
want to be.
artifact should be here somewhere.
My headset is not high quality, so it seems very
Easy,
soft.
Everyone. Every dragon has a weak spot. If I can hit it just right.
Yeah, let's hit it. Go ahead, Archer. Yeah, that didn't go well for you.
I think I like this dragon.
Well, that could have gone better. Any ideas?
We attack together. On 3. For Teleria! For the Arbiter!
I have no idea who the Arbiter is. I've been playing this game for something like 170 days now, and I still don't know who the Arbiter is. I haven't heard anything about the Arbiter. Other than this opening sequence.
I thought these champions may have been the ones. Yet it seems I have failed. They were not ready. This task now falls to you.
Oh, now I have a next button, and I
I
won't
have
accidentally
strength
skip.
left to restore only one fallen champion to aid you. With their shard remade, they will be bound to your will. But you must choose.
So now we get the opportunity to choose our starter champion, and this is actually where some of the psychology begins. So we've gotten a chance to look at the personalities of each of these starter champions, and if you're completely new to the game, that is one of the only things that you have to go by. You can click on a starter champion and it will show you their early skills, but of course you don't know anything about what these skills actually do. So you can find information about the skills and look at each of the individuals and look at that. This person has archery, so they get to shoot things, but they got eaten by a dragon. And yeah, you can work out their general classes by the weapons, but it turns out that classes, the way that we traditionally think of them, are not a thing in this game. So you don't necessarily have classes. So you'll have individuals who look like archers, but who are doing magical attacks. And then you have individuals who look like barbarians who are also doing magical attacks. So it turns out that their classes aren't necessarily as meaningful, but you think they are, right? You're coming into this game, and if you have any gaming knowledge, you have a general sense of who might be good or who might be bad. Now, I'm going to ask, since I have folks in the chat, I'm going to ask your opinion. I happen to know, because I've been playing this game and consuming content about it, I happen to know which one of these is considered objectively the best starter champion to choose. And it turns out there is someone who is objectively the best starter champion to choose. And my question to you is, do you want me to choose the person who is the best starter champion among all of these objectively, or should we choose someone else? Or choose in a different way, I suppose. because we can do either. I'm going to pause for just a second. Since I haven't shown everyone's kit, I'm going to show the basic kit for everyone. So we have what looks like our barbarian, who hits with axes, but also hits with fire. It hits twice with fire. And there is a question in the chat about, is there a way to know who is objectively the best? And it turns out yes. What I would refer to as objectively the best would be the starter champion that you continue to see even in end game content being useful and valuable. So each of these starter champions are going to be great for early game content, but some of them fall off in terms of their utility when you get into the harder and harder elements of the game, all except one. And there is one that you continue to see in end game teams tackling end game content. It is not, however, far too easy if the best is chosen. They start off relatively equal, and it is when you start to get to the higher levels in them. So all of these are going to start off with 3 stars. You can go up to 6 stars, and you really start to see the difference between them at about 5 stars in terms of their help, or in terms of their utility. And King Tavis says, if we are going with the patriarchy, I bet it's pale. He looks pale, male, and stale. And he has a British accent, right? But the question is, do you want me to tell you and select the best champion? Or do we want to select in some different way? But that's how we know who is objectively the best. Here's the thing, though. A person coming into this game who is just starting with this game, they saw one of their favorite YouTubers doing an advertisement of this game, and then they're just coming in, they have no way to know that, first of all, that there's any difference between these champions other than general style, and second of all, who would be the objectively best champion based on their kit. So all you have right now is their personality and what you can read here. About the things that they are able to do. So I can show each of them. And someone in the chat is saying, you're playing, you pick. Here's the thing, I don't mind either way. This is not my main account, and won't be. This is going to be an account that I use when I want to stream and talk about elements of this game. And so I'm perfectly fine with either. And I've played with 2 of these 4 champions already. So I can talk about the psychology of these things either way, regardless of what I pick. And I know, actually, those who play this game and who do it professionally, right, who are making YouTube videos professionally about this game, who are official content creators, who have a chance of having themselves built within this game, I know how they rank each of these. And so the first folks say, I don't know anything at all. And so, let's see. I think Blanca needs the work. Street Fighter doesn't make the money it used to. All right, so we are going to pick Blanca then. This is the one that we've singled out. Now I'm going to tell you how objectively these guys are rated, now that we have a decision as to who we're picked. You are absolutely right. Kale, the patriarchy, is the objectively best choice of all of these, followed by Ethel over here. She is not quite as good as Kale, does not show herself in endgame content, but does in mid-game content. Then you have Elhain, and you do see Elhain up and through the mid-game, with Blanca being the person who is considered objectively the worst of the starter champions. But we're going to pick Blanca anyway, because it's fun to do so. It's Blanca, or it's Gaelic, and so we're going to pick him anyway, because that's how we figured out how to pick it. We're not going to go
so be it.
with what folks say. So now the Arbiter's going to talk to us again. That's it. That's the last we see of the Arbiter, as far as I know, other than
warrior.
tutorial.
This
That's
is your
right.
bastion. From here, you will summon and train champions to fight the Dark One and his shadow.
Oh, we're fighting the Dark One. It's like Wheel of Time. I'm so excited that Wheel of Time came out. I'm very, very excited.
You have chosen your first champion, but one champion is not an army. Use a mystery shard to summon another champion at the portal.
Now it's walking us through. how to get things. And I'm actually, even though I know how to play the game, I'm intentionally walking through the tutorial, because what they're doing is they're setting up, when you have a tutorial like this, they are setting up the sorts of things that are important to you. So there's a ton that's going on in your bastion, but they directed you here and said, okay, press this. This is how you get new champions. And a game like this, one of your goals is kind of gotta catch them all, right? Get your new champions. So I'm going to go ahead and press this summon and get my new champion. This is always the same person.
Excellent. You've summoned an attack-type champion with great attack and support skills. Let's head to the campaign map and prepare your champions for their first taste of combat.
So now they've told me this is an attack-type champion, and if I scan over the screen, I can see, oh, look at that, attack-type champion. I can see that it is uncommon. And yes, they have Milena from Mortal Kombat. I did not play as much Mortal Kombat as I did Street Fighter. Not because there was any sort of censorship in my house. We were allowed to play whatever we wanted, but simply because my brother, who owned the gaming equipment at that time, enjoyed and therefore purchased more Street Fighter than Mortal Kombat type games. So now again, it is walking you through things and saying, okay, we can close out of here. Right now we're on rails. We cannot click on anything that we don't want to. So it's exactly telling us where to go. I can't go anywhere or do anything in the game just yet. So it's saying, okay, you can work on the campaign. And if you'll notice, they are leaving things blocked out that you can't even touch until later levels, because there is a lot going on. And they're only going to introduce it at a trickle so that you don't have too much going on at the same time.
Behold, Karok Castle, seat of King Tabor. This is where your journey begins.
Thank you, Arbiter.
I fear that the king and his bannerlords have fallen to the shadow. Once noble and just, he has brought war upon his allies and ruin on his people.
One of the cool things is they have voiced all of the campaign, so everything that is story-based is voiced as well. And I apologize, my computer just got a little angry there. Everything that is campaign-related is voiced as well, and that's probably because this is a huge game, right? They've been advertising everywhere. You've probably heard about them on YouTube channels or even within other game ads and video ads that you watch within those games. Their marketing push has been ginormous. So let's go into here so we can...
You and your champions must fight through his bannerlords, find him, and see if he has turned to Siroth.
There we go. We've got the setup for our campaign and what we have to do. So we're going to go in, because it's the only place I can go, and start the campaign story.
11 generations of peace had reigned between the kingdom of Karok and the realm of Aravia. A peace now shattered by King Taba's brutal campaign of expansion into the neutral lands between the two kingdoms.
They have not, however, wasted any resources animating the campaign. Their resources really go into those champions rather than animations here within the campaign.
Once revered as a pillar of justice, King Taba had imposed crushing taxes to finance his war with his former ally, bringing desolation and ruin upon his own people. Had the king lost all reason? On the orders of the Arbiter, the company set out to persuade him to renounce his folly and wayward policies, even if it meant storming the very gates of Karok Castle.
Karok will not fall easily. Like all places in Teleria, there are multiple stages of defenders. You must defeat all stages to move forward with your journey.
Pretty standard stuff, right? So anybody who is familiar with gaming, that sort of story of that ruler became evil, we must fight against them, all very standard in terms of what we're doing multiple stages within a given area. Again, that is as classic as Super Mario, and seeing those multiple stages within a given world. All of this will feel very familiar to anyone who has engaged in any sort of gaming, but also just seems logical to those who haven't. And remember, this is a mobile game, so it could be someone's first introduction to an RPG-like game, or this turn-based tactics type game, or turn-based battle, type game. And so either or you have sort of this familiarity and this sense of, oh yeah, I get it, there's an evil person over there, we're going to battle the evil person. And that's all we have the choice to do.
Select your team and review the enemy champions before each battle. Each champion has unique skills and an affinity that makes them weak or strong against another affinity. Magic beats spirit, spirit beats force, force beats magic, and void is special. Void champions have no direct weaknesses against other affinities.
She doesn't point out here that there's also no direct strength against other enemies as well. But again, classic Rochambeau type affinity track. And I'm not certain champion is a qualified. Oh, they're all champions here. They're all champs, despite the fact that some are objectively better than others. I like the way that they've color-coded this. Again, for those who are not familiar with this type of system, this sort of color coding allows someone new to jump into the game and to get a little bit of understanding of it.
You have only 2 champions. Let us pick your team.
I'm sorry, King Tav has commented in the chat with Rochambeau, who is kicking who in the gonads? It's my understanding that Rochambeau is another way of saying rock, paper, scissor, and I may have just stumbled into something with a poor understanding of what's happening. But given that we are a magic-based champion, I'm going to say that we are kicking them in the nads. So now, again, we are on rails, so we have to select the only 2 champions we have.
Notice that your leader has an aura skill. These provide special bonuses to all allied champions in a battle.
And again, they have these things flashing to try to get your attention, and a huge arrow. Oh, okay. So I didn't watch a whole lot of South Park, but apparently Rochambeau is invented by Eric Cartman, and it has to do with kicking somebody in the privates as hard as you can. I have never heard it used in that way, and have always heard it used in the context of rock, paper, scissor as a synonym of rock, paper, scissor. And in fact, in my defense, the Wiktionary, which I just pulled up, calls Rochambeau rock, paper, scissor. So I promise I'm not kicking anybody in their private parts. I am just playing rock, paper, scissor. Now I'm embarrassed. So sorry, folks. The only South Park I really ever consumed regularly was the South Park movie. I love the South Park movie. It was on one of the 4, back when I was in college, we didn't have, pay-per-view channels or Netflix or things like that. You had 4 movie channels, and for a month, each of those channels would play the same movie over and over and over again. It would just loop that movie, and so you had 4 movies to choose from that month, and 1 month they had the South Park movie on, and we had watched all the 3 other movies. We had nothing. Actually, we watched 2 of them. One of them was a horror film, and I wasn't really into it. But not that I didn't like horror films back then. My distaste of horror films came later. But it wasn't a good movie. So we'd watched the other 2 a whole bunch of times, and my roommate and I decided to sit down and watch the South Park movie, and decided that we really liked it. King Tavis, oh, my microphone has died. That's not good. Let me... Alright, hello? My microphone is now muffled. That's very strange. So pardon for just 1 second. So I haven't touched my microphone at all. You can hear me, it's just muffled. Can you hear me better now? Okay, no one Maya is saying it's not muffled. And King Tavis is saying I'm muffled. So I guess I'm gonna have to find out on the video if I'm muffled, because I haven't really done anything other than... I tried moving my pop filter out and back in again. Okay, it's all okay now. Thank y'all for letting me know, though, because It's better to know than to not know stuff like that. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and hit our start button and see what combat is like. What they haven't told us here is that I can click on, I can't do it now because I'm on rails, but that I can click on these enemies and see what they can do. So let's go in. It's going to walk us through how to fight. We have no choices here. We're just going to do what she says.
Each enemy's head show how your champion's affinity matches up against theirs. An affinity advantage means a more effective attack, more damage, and a higher chance to crit.
So I notice she's shown us up here what those arrows do. And now it's gone. I don't think we ever see that again. So now I get to choose what I'm going to do. This is finally, I'm making a choice now. And so I'm going to choose to use that one. Confirm to you. And so now, again, I can hold on to these and say, okay, what is this going to do? And let's hit you guys some more. I know! Hashtag choices. I finally get to do something. And now there's another wave of enemies, and it does tell me round 2 of 3 up here, and if I look at this screen, there's not a whole lot going on in this screen. So I can now play around and see information on each of them, my team and the enemy team. It looks like I can click on these dice, but I can't. That's not even the tutorial, that's just it being odd. And now I see these green arrows saying, okay, I can hit them harder, if I remember that that's what that means from the upper left-hand corner. But sure enough, it now says strong, so I get an idea that I have done a good job. So now I get to the third and final battle. I assume that this is going to be a harder battle, but I've already used up all of my magics. Someone's commenting that she looks a bit posh for wielding axes. She is... I think she's just called Maiden as well, if I remember properly. So she is especially posh for wielding axes. There are some great character designs in this game. I have to say, where they haven't put a lot of their budget into the animations, as you can see. These are, or into the backgrounds. But the animations and the character designs have had a lot of attention to it. So now it's telling me I have to click this, so I will.
Excellent. Campaign levels drop artifacts, and here's your first. Artifacts are powerful items that boost your champion's stats.
Now,
Along
we're
with
back to
special
having to do
items,
what
your
they say.
champions will earn XP after every battle. Earn enough, and they'll level up, growing in strength and power.
All right, see ya, King Tavis. Thank you for stopping by. I'm sorry that all you got to see
Go to your
was
champion
the
collection
tutorial.
and equip that artifact.
Enjoy your marking? Yeah, no, it seems very weird to say that. Please stay happy during your marking. You will give your students better grades if you do.
This is where you can view all champions under your control. Each champion can equip up to 6 artifacts. Select the artifact and equip your champion.
So now again, I'm back on rails. I can't do anything because it's trying to teach me how to do these things if I don't already know how to.
See that? Your artifact has already strengthened this champion. Better yet, artifacts can be equipped in sets to provide special bonuses and effects. I believe you are ready. Return to Karok Castle, seat of King Tabor of Karok. Fight through his banner lords and find him. I must know if he has succumbed to the shadow.
Yes, yes, Arbiter, I will do what you say and follow all of your arrows. This is British marking, like giving good grades have anything to do with it. Well, I hope that makes it slightly better than our sort of marking. Where it's very stressful. I hate individuals getting marked down. It's so hard. So now we have a better understanding of the game and that we might want to save these until the end, but it's not really going to matter at this point. But we may decide to do that and save those until the end, but she's going to shoot both people. So now we have this idea, right, that we have to potentially conserve our resources. Oh, you stunned her. That's not nice. Don't do that. Hey, Red Fighter, how's it going? I'm showing everybody Raid Shadow Legends since I've been spending so much time playing it. And going to talk about to get those engaged and therefore continuing to play their games. And so I'm just trying to get through the tutorial right now because that it doesn't really let me play until then, but this tutorial is doing some psychologically interesting things. I don't very much like tutorials that keep you on rails and don't let you make choices for a while, but I can understand in this case why they've done it, because their assumption is that they are going to get a good number of folks who have never played this type of game before into playing the
Congratulations,
game.
you leveled up. Every time you level up, you'll get full energy, gems, and sometimes you'll even unlock new features. And here are your rewards from battle. With this artifact, you'll have enough to equip a full set. Let's go.
So she's getting so excited about equipping the full set because I have an artifact. Again, trying to set up this idea that full sets are a good thing to do.
Artifacts
you
can
want
be
to
equipped individually, but come in sets of 2 or 4. Equipping full sets can give you huge stat boosts, special abilities, or add special modifiers to your attacks.
So again, saying sets are the way to go. What you find
Special
out...
icons will show which artifact sets a champion is equipped with. Tap on the set icon to read more about which bonuses it gives to your champions.
Keep interrupting me. What you find out later in the game is that you may want to break sets and have some artifacts that you equip in sets and some that are not. It never introduces that here in the game. So it's going to give you the basics here and then allow you to get into increasing levels of complexity as you go along.
This set boosts your champion's HP by 15%. Life artifacts come in sets of 2, meaning you can gain a huge 45% HP boost with 3 sets. Let's upgrade this artifact and improve its bonuses.
Now it's telling me that upgrading an artifact is a good thing to do, which is going to lead me to want to upgrade all of my artifacts, and it's kind of a waste of resources with these low-level artifacts, but I have no choice but to do it here. You'll also notice here it gives an upgrade chance. As you go up, you can fail at upgrading an artifact. I don't remember if she's going to tell you
Excellent
about
work.
that.
When you upgrade artifacts to certain levels, they gain new substats, giving your champions an even bigger boost.
And no, so she didn't point out that we just made it harder for ourselves to upgrade to the next level. And there's
You have learned
nothing
well.
you can do about
Keep
that.
strengthening your warriors. I shall return in time to teach you more.
Yes, Red, you sure can. Just, once per stream, you are absolutely welcome to talk about your channel, and you're doing a lot of streaming. And Red Fighter has been doing a lot of streaming of State of Decay, which I find very exciting because I haven't been able to play State of Decay because it's been making me sick with my vertigo. One of the things that's been good about this game is that it's not as vertigo-inducing, but I'll actually show you there are elements of this game that still induce vertigo, and there's no way for me to turn them off. So now, finally, I have some element of control. And it's going to start popping things up in my face. So the pop-ups in this game are prolific. And I think that goes along with how they decided to advertise the game as well. So one of the things that Plarium seemed to have done is to pour massive amounts of money into an advertising campaign. And what they're trying to use is a psychological principle that those things that are familiar, we tend to have greater liking for. And so by making it familiar, by having you hear about it more and more, you'll then hear the name again and be like, oh yeah, I've heard about that. I think that might be good because I'm familiar with that. And familiarity does in fact breed liking. And so then when we come to choose what type of game we want to play, we've heard about this game and are therefore more likely to go ahead and play it because we've heard the name of it. Some of the things that pop up are actually giving you things that are free. So you can look in and say, oh, if I reach 7 days of play, I'm going to get this champion here, and I'm getting free stuff already. This is not as common. This happens to be a special event, Simple, that S1PLV, Simple is actually a player of another game, and I am suddenly blanking on what game. He is very well known in the professional gaming community, and I'm blanking on what game he typically plays, but Plarium partnered with him to create a champion that looks like him, and they don't put that here, and I think that that would be kind of cool to put, but it's something that I happen to know. So this is a champion that's designed after a real person, as sort of a way to try to get folks who are playing that game to come along and play this mobile game as well. Now we're going to start getting the pop-ups that try to get us to buy things. And so far we have no information about how good any of these things are, but it's going to pop up in your face a lot that you want to spend this money and to go ahead and spend. And it also, the other thing I want to point out, I didn't expect to get this one so soon, is that it'll then say you're going to get something free and send you to the shop. Why? Because then you have to go through all of the things that are within the shop. Anything that can direct your attention to the shop and to the sorts of things that you can buy is good for them. So now people are going to have the desire to flip through the shop and be, oh, what sorts of things can I get? Some of these things are a good value, some of these things are not a good value. And you'll notice that this is the screen they brought us back to the moment we finished getting that free pack. Part of the reason they might want to do this is that what you're looking at here are, first, I'm going to get some free things, but also here is an inexpensive pack. They limit it to one per day. That takes advantage of a principle that if something is scarce or hard to get, we think that it's more valuable. It's called the Scarcity Principle, but also it's very inexpensive. And so with it being inexpensive, people are more likely to purchase it. And that's what they're going for. They're going for individuals making their first purchases. Having somebody make their first purchase makes them more likely to engage in other purchases later on and to engage in more and more expensive purchases. And this isn't just because that person is the type of person who makes purchases, but also because it takes advantage of the foot in the door technique. Once you get somebody to agree to something smaller, you're going to be more likely to get them to agree to something larger later on. So having these packs that are relatively inexpensive gets your foot in the door for potentially more and more expensive packs that you may buy later on. And that's part of the purpose of these pop-ups. Okay, we finished up the pop-ups, now we can take a look. Now we have this really overwhelming area and we see a whole bunch of locks. So we're overwhelmed by everything that's here, but almost everything is locked. So what do we know we can do? We know that we can do the portal, and suddenly we see this red dot on the portal. This is directing our attention to it, letting us know that there's something to do there, and we are encouraged to go in and use one of these shards to do a summon, because that's what it just told us to do. And then we see a red dot here, and it's going to show us an overwhelming number of red dots. And honestly, this is in my opinion, a very silly thing that it does. It wants you to go in and click on every single one of these champions. And you see that they've got gold around them, so they must be valuable, but you can't make that red dot go away until you've clicked on every single one of them. It's just a boring thing that forces you to click. They're trying to draw your attention to these legendary champions and how awesome they are, but because there are so many of them that forces you to click, I just don't think that it's very effective. Now you see a red dot here, and you see, oh, there's daily login rewards. I'm going to get a reward for every day that I log in, and I can see all of these great things that I'm going to get if I am consistently logging in every day. Now, these don't have to be consecutive days, but what they're trying to do is to get you to make this a habit, and you get to day 30 and you get something really awesome. But it also takes advantage of the principle that if you are consistently logging in for 30 days, this game becomes habitual. It becomes the thing that you just kind of find yourself doing, which again makes you more likely to have purchases, and those purchases are what they're going for. Another thing that I don't think they did exceptionally well is they're drawing your attention to news items, which is great. Drawing your attention to the news is a wonderful thing to do, and you can see all of the things that are currently going on or have recently gone on. But if I go in and hit mark all as red, what's going to happen the next time I come back to my bastion is that red dot is going to be there again. So you see the red dot's going away, it's going to come back, and it's going to have me, I have to mark as red every news item since, I think it's sometime in 2019. All of the news items I have to mark as red before it stops doing that. And again, it just becomes one of those things that you're doing by rote, so they're not actually getting you to pay attention in the way that they think they are. I think they're trying to get everybody hyped up, but instead what it does is it becomes confusing because you read a news item and only later realize that this was happening a year ago. Additionally, we have more red dots, right? So what people are compelled to do this point is follow the red dots and to do all of the things that are there. So I say, hey, I've got free stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and collect it all. Eventually, you'll have energy refills in here. And if you don't know any better, you're going to collect them all and not realize that it will bump you up over your 21, but it's only going to give me 21 energy right now. And again, if you're just coming in on your own, you're going to end up clicking all of these buttons and accepting things that aren't necessarily good for you to accept. So now I've got some free rewards going on, which is great. And I'm going to do something real quick. The other thing that they do is have promo codes. And you have to be paying attention to their content creators or to their social media in order to get these promo codes. And if I remember properly, this is the promo code for this year's Christmas. So I just got a whole bunch of resources there. You can put in one per day. So these promo codes are designed to get you engaging with their social media, engaging with their content creators who are going to put out these promo codes on their YouTube channels or talk about them on their Twitch streams. Again, making it more habitual, making it more a part of your everyday behaviors. And so again, I'm just going to come in and collect the stuff so that I have it. I only leave energy refills and the like here in my sort of treasure chest here, unless I have to. So again, I also have all of these red dots that I want to click on. So when I click on here, what's interesting that they have is they're trying to get you to stay logged in for a certain amount of time every day. Because if you're logged in for 3 hours, you're going to get all the way up to this best reward. And so this is motivating individuals to stay logged in for a particular amount of time and to engage with the material for a longer amount of time. And you don't have to keep that all at once. So I don't have to be logged in for 3 hours consecutively, just 3 hours throughout the day. Again, they're trying to get you to habitually come to the materials. Now I've got another red dot, and ooh, I've happened to complete some quests, and that's very exciting. So I'm going to click on all of those. And again, now it's drawing your attention to the fact that there are quests. Trying to get you to engage in particular quests. And actually, this is where I want to draw your attention as well. Notice they're trying to get you to personalize your account. We are more likely to stay playing games where we see this level of personalization than if we do not. And they're rewarding us with things that look really valuable. They're rewarding us with silver, money, and they're rewarding us with experience points. So it's rewarding us for going in and making these changes. And then I see, again, I'm following red dots, and I can make changes. So I'm going to just select an avatar. Notice it's trying to get me to connect it to other accounts. Again, that makes me more likely to engage with each of these. And then it says that it wants me to... Oops, typing. It wants me to change my name. Your name has to be unique. Hey. There we go. I've successfully changed my name. And notice I'm getting rewards, and it's telling me, hey, you got your rewards. Why do you want me to change my avatar again? I did change my avatar. That's weird. Oh, it wants me to do these. Again, making that connection, making a new account. This is all taking advantage of that foot in the door technique. Getting you to agree to something small in order to try to get you to do something bigger later. So they're popping things up in our face. They're showing us that they're available for a limited amount of time. That's taking advantage of the scarcity principle. It's the sort of principle, by the by, that is used all the time in advertising. So if you think about McDonald's McRibs, the McRibs is only available for certain parts of the year. It is not an exceptionally good sandwich. And in fact, many people would say it's not a very good sandwich at all. And yet people really get excited when the McRibs is available, because things that are scarce and hard to get, things that are available for a limited time, they increase in value. We think more of them and like them more because they are scarce. The same thing happens with Shamrock Shakes. There's a reason that these things are only available for a certain period of time. And it's not only McDonald's that does it. I recently went to Starbucks and wanted to get one of their Cranberry Bliss or Cranberry Dream, I don't know what it was. One of their cranberry things. It's one of their baked goods. And it's not available after Christmas. Christmas comes and no more. You can't have any more of them. Again, taking advantage of that scarcity principle, people are going to be more likely to go next year and get that because they can't get it any other time. And you'll notice all I did was come back to my bastion, and it's giving me more and more pop-ups. But I also have more little red dots, so I get excited and say, oh right, I can go in and get my little red dots. As you see, the levels are coming fast and furious at the beginning. That's going to give you a little rush of dopamine, right? It's going to make you feel good. And it's very exciting because I get all of those little levels and saying, oh, you did a good job. And by doing that, it's going to make me like the game better and be more likely to want to engage in it. And you'll notice that I haven't had to stop playing. There has been no waiting so far. I've been able to just keep those bursts of dopamine coming. Notice it has a little red dot trying to get me to refer others to the game and to go ahead and get a link. That little red dot doesn't go away until you generate this link here. I can't generate the link because I am using an emulator. I'm using BlueStacks in order to play the game on my computer, so that's just going to turn red again on me because I can't do it. So again, I'm chasing all these red dots, and these red dots are strategic. They're trying to get me to engage in certain behaviors. So here again, I've got all of these that I have to click on before that red dot will go away, and I have 2 shards. And remember, it told me that I wanted to summon these shards and that I want to get the things that these shards have to offer. But remember, I got an uncommon the first time, and that makes me think, oh yeah, I'm going to get more and more uncommons, and that's not really how this game works. So I can look at this individual and I can see, oh, this one's a common. This one is not as good as the other ones that I have. And if I think to click on this eye, it will tell me the statistics of how often I am going to get each item or each type of champion based on the shards. So most of the time I'm going to be getting these common champions, and the second to that will be the uncommon champions, and I don't really start getting into the champions that are as good as my starter champion or better until 1.5% of the time. So it starts you off with that rush of dopamine and with that set of interesting champions, but then it slows down in that regard. But you find yourself still wanting to do that and still doing the summons for 2 reasons. One of my quests was to summon 3 champions today. And I can say, okay, I can check that off now. I've summoned 3 champions today. Good job, me. And I can see that some of these quests are daily. It wants you to come back every day and do these activities. And it wants you to do that for a whole week. So it gives you more and more rewards if you're doing that consistently. And if I do that for 5 days, now I get one of these blue shards, and that seemed really exciting. And then it tries to get you to do it for a month. So it's easing you in. It's using that foot in the door technique. And that foot in the door technique can really do some fairly powerful things. So we see it being used here to get the foot in the door when it comes to engaging in these behaviors. But you see it for a wide variety of things. So one of the classic bits of research that used the foot in the door technique, and while I talk about that, I'm going to just go in and smack some of the things in the campaign. One of the classic bits of research that talked about or used the foot in the door technique was research where they were, now this is back in the 1950s or 60s-ish, so they were going, and there were a lot of women who were housewives. And they went, and at first they asked these individuals to sign a petition. So they came knocking door to door and asked individuals to sign a petition. I'm going to just let this play itself. This is a feature that you use the most often. You would think that the fun part of this game for people would be doing the battles, and to some extent that is, but the majority of people who play this game are playing it where it's on automatic and the game is playing itself. So while I'm talking, I'm going to take advantage of that auto battle so that I can continue talking. So they went to these housewives and asked them to sign a petition. And then they came back later, and there were a few things that they came back later and asked them. In one case, they came back later and then asked them to put up a billboard in their front yard talking about how we need to beautify our landscapes. Now, you'll notice that these are conflicting messages. They're going to put up a huge billboard in your front yard. And they also asked them, and a different group were asked to put up a small sign. So now we've got these individuals who have signed a petition, and they're asked to either put up a huge billboard or to put up a small sign. Then you have a group of individuals who never saw the petition, and they're asked to either put up the huge billboard and put up the small sign. And of course, people were much less likely, and this is in the group that has nothing to do with the petition. People are much less likely to put a billboard up in their yard that blocks their front window than they are to put up a small sign in their yard. And that's, again, the group that didn't see the petition. But for the group that did see the petition, you saw that they were more likely than the other group to put a huge billboard up in their yard because they'd already done a favor for that person once. And so that made them more likely to do the favor again. And that's really the principle of the foot in the door technique, is that if you can get somebody to agree to something, and interestingly, that petition could even be a petition about wanting to get rid of billboards or otherwise beautifying the landscape. So even if the putting up of the sign was contradictory to the contents of the petition that they signed, they were still willing to do something that was really disruptive because they had already agreed to do something first. And another thing that they did, again, using these housewives who were home during the day and asking things of them, another study that they did, they went in and had individuals complete a survey about the sorts of kitchen tools that they use or have in their kitchen. And then after completing the survey, they asked these individuals if they could come into their home and have a group of researchers go through their kitchens and see what they actually had in their kitchens. Now, this is a time period where women are at home by themselves while their husbands are out working, by and large, and that's what they're taking advantage of. This is really intrusive. And so they're being asked to allow this really intrusive set of behaviors. Oh, look, I have a new champion. It feeds me champions exactly when I need them. So you'll notice that I just got this new champion. And now I need 3 champions. So whether or not I went and pulled shards, I now have the number of champions that I need. And this is an uncommon champion. It makes you think, oh, I'm definitely going to get a lot of these uncommon champions. And you're not. So these women were agreeing to something very intrusive, in part because they had signed this petition. And we know that it relates to having signed the petition because if you just showed up at these folks' doorsteps and asked them to let you come rummage through their kitchen, the answer was almost always no. Because of course you wouldn't. Even today, I wouldn't want to let random people come into my house and rummage through my kitchen to see the sorts of things that I have. But by having had agreed to it first, you see people being more likely to agree to the next thing. So I agree to something small, and I am therefore more likely to agree to something larger afterwards. And that's the foot in the door technique. And that's why you're seeing all of these advertisements, some of them, some of these packages being for very little money. And the reason that we're seeing these has to do with that foot in the door technique, with getting people to sort of start off with spending because it makes them more likely to spend again. You may also wonder, we spoke at the very beginning of this video about how there are certain champions that are objectively better champions, and that when you look at the content creator community, so once they have you, right? Once they have you engaging in this game and wanting to play the game more, you start to see that there's a large content creator community, and there's a lot of things that are not explained in this game. So you may find yourself Googling it and just stumble into these content creators, and almost all of them talk about Kale, that sort of Kale starter champion with the British accent, who's very posh. You see almost all of those content creators identifying Kale as the objectively best starter champion. There's some disagreement about who the second best starter champion is. There's no disagreement about who they consider the worst starter champion. So there's a definite best or worst, and then the two in the middle are somewhat questionable. But what that means is that you only have a 1 in 4 chance of having accidentally selected what this entire community that you've stumbled into because you don't understand something about the game. There's one champion that this community objectively, or says is objectively the best champion. Later in the game, we're going to start a player versus player arena. It's not a real-time player versus player. You leave a defensive team that others will attack whether you're online or not. It's not. I'll show it to you some other time if I'm showing this video. But in any case, you start to see other people's teams and the sorts of champions that other people are using. And when you come up against this champion, so you're hearing these trickles of, oh, this is the best person, and then you find when you come up against this champion that sure enough, he is doing better against your champion, even if you are equal levels. So you start to, once you get there in the game, you start to see this is potentially true, that this is an objectively better champion. And you'd think that would be highly frustrating, and it somewhat is, but the point of it is to get the individual to potentially see this charter champion and want to start the game over, to abandon their account and to start a new account. Even if they've never spent before, at that point where they choose to start a new account, and yes, you are going to lose some players at this point, but what you are going to gain is that players that go back and start a new account aren't going to want to spend the time to bring their champions back up to the level that they were, and are therefore more likely to spend the money to do so instead. So they're not worried about you starting a new account and starting from scratch at that point, because those individuals are going to be more likely to pay so that they don't have to spend the time to get back up to where they were before they realized that they needed to use a different starter champion. So there are a lot of elements going into even this early part of the game, and especially this early part of the game in terms of getting you to continue playing the game. But even in this early part of the game in terms of trying to get individuals to spend, and of course there are. And this is a game that only survives on individuals spending within their shops. There are no advertisements within this game that are for something other than things that you can buy in raid. So other free-to-play games, you may have advertisements that pop up in your face for other games, or you may see a place where you can gain power-ups by watching advertisements. There's none of that here. Raid has taken advantage of that in other games and in other places, but has not taken advantage of that as monetization for their game. The monetization for this game is entirely getting people into the shop and spending money in that shop. And so that's really what they are motivated to do. And they're doing it very well. And this is why you saw, especially in 2020, a huge peak in the number of players playing the game, but also a massive peak in the number of players spending on the game. And they're using these principles. They're using the principles of opening the door. They're using the principles of familiarity and getting that to breed liking. And they're also using the things that they direct your attention to want to do. Notice one of the only things they've told me I want to do is
having
get
overcome
good
the
gear.
castle guard, the company leader called to mind how the Banner Lords had cried out their allegiance to their king. but also to Seroth. Was the king's warring folly prompted by the will of the Lord of Darkness? Upon interrogation, a fallen knight confessed that the king had not been seen at the castle for many a month.
Interrogation with a sword to his neck, right?
His orders were being relayed by messenger from his encampment on the Eastern Front. This meant only one thing. The company would have to pass through the war-torn city of Arnok.
There we go. And I've gotten my new champion, and because it's given me this new champion, I am led to suspect that I'm going to need 4 champions from here on out. Now notice, and actually this is a really good example of this. So what the game has told us or directed our attention to that are good things to do. Use shards to get champions. Get equipment and level it up. And therefore get silver. And if I go back to my bastion, the things that are going to pop up in my face are things that are advertising shards, right? And so this is, hey, you get a bonus every level that you go if you spend this amount. And most people are going to choose not to spend that amount. This is going to, and then I should see one more pop up. Oh, this is my novice tournament. Get to that in a second. I would typically see another pop up that shows me some of the things in the shop that are then less expensive. And by showing me something incredibly expensive first and then showing me something less expensive, they're taking advantage of the door in the face technique. There we go. The less expensive thing. So it showed me something for $50. I said, nah, no thank you, I'm not spending that much. Now it's showing me something for $30. And again, showing me it's available for limited time onlys. It's for new players. This is our starter pack. The way that the door in the face technique works is that you first ask for something huge that the person is going to say no to. And you have to level it so that it's not so big that it's ridiculous. But, so it's $50 is a huge amount of money and may be ridiculous for me, but in terms of the sorts of things games like this ask me for, it's not phenomenally out there. But by having them say no to that and then asking them to spend something which is a little bit more reasonable, which is lower, but you're more likely to get players to agree to buy this as compared to that, because they've already said no to one thing. And so there's a little bit of reciprocity going on. If, oh, I said no to that, but I'll say yes to this. It doesn't work as well because you're not interacting with an actual other person. But again, it's just one of those norms that make people more likely to say, oh, this is priced more reasonably by comparison. Notice it's also directing my attention down here. This is the first time it's telling me that there are missions. No more voicing. So it's telling me that there are missions that are going to guide the sorts of things that I should be doing with rewards that get bigger and bigger. And so it tells me do this. And now I'm not on rails anymore, but it's telling me that you should be motivated to do these things. And so it's going to guide you through. If you don't know what else you should be doing, if you're still learning the game, the idea is that you would guide through these missions because you want to get these cool things that it looks like you can get relatively easily. So you're going through. Again, it's drawing your attention to all the red dots again. So we've got red dots on the portal, as I told you. That's just because I haven't clicked through all of those shard champions yet. But again, it had me click these playtime rewards. It wants to keep me engaging, and it tells me how long until I get my next reward. And it's directing my attention now to the fact that there are tournaments and that I am in a tournament, that I'm competing with others. So they're using foot in the door and door in the face to get individuals to be motivated to spend, but then they're using this sense of competition and engaging with others to attract another type of person, someone who is very interested in that competitive nature of the game, in the social nature of the game. And it will give you information on how to do that. Now, this is, what are we going to motivate you to try to do? It's introducing you to the idea that there are going to be arena battles, that you're going to raid dungeons, that you're going to play in the campaigns, right, to beat campaign locations. and that you're in a tournament group. So it's giving you information about how tournaments work, but also the sorts of things that they want you to do, and these things are time consuming. And the reason that they're time consuming is to keep you engaging with the games. You notice there are no independent advertisements in this game other than advertisements to buy things for Portal, or buy things, for Raid. They want to keep you in the game, not because they're receiving money from advertisers, but because it makes you more likely to make this game a habit, more likely to be enveloped in the Raid content creator community, to see the sorts of things that they're out there and to want them to get them for yourself, but also to be more likely to spend within their game, as well as you want to engage in time-saving behaviors. So I'm going to stop there with our discussion of this game. I may come back and talk a little bit more about the sorts of features that we see in this game if folks are interested. You can let me know if you're completely disinterested in this type of content. You can let me know as well. And hopefully I will be seeing y'all again soon, and much sooner than I have been. So take care. Red, what do you mean by kill all the things that fight back? You mean within the campaign? Yes, thanks, Dawnmai. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I have other things that I can talk about with each of these techniques in terms of what gets used in mobile games and free-to-play games, and I just realized I didn't even talk about what I intended to talk about, which is how I intend to use the structure of this game in a more productive way. So I may, if you have interest, stream about this again on Wednesday. I don't have time to stream tomorrow, but I'm trying to, while I'm on break, give myself time to stream more frequently. So if you have interest, I may do this again at around the same time on Wednesday. Well, not only I got carried away, but I forgot how much this game is voiced at the beginning, and therefore I was pausing a lot. But the thing I want to talk to is actually adapting this type of game to an educational game, to a game to teach psychology. And so I may actually be back in this game on Wednesday just so I can get started with that and talk about some of the ideas that I've had for taking this type of game and using it for psych. So yes, you do have lots of free time now, and I hope you're spending that free time resting as well. And so if you have interest in potentially watching that again, I will go ahead and start talking about those ideas, and I'd love to hear your take on those ideas as well as I go through. I actually have someone who I'm collaborating with to create a serious psychological game, so one that is a serious game is an educational game, I don't know if you're familiar. So we're collaborating to try to create a serious game, and I'm the psychology knowledge person, and he is the technology knowledge person. But I'm the gaming knowledge. He actually knows nothing about gaming. He doesn't play video games himself, but he knows the technical side of it and the programming side of it, and so would be on that aspect of it, while I would be more on gaming design, gaming theory, and psychology knowledge. So hopefully I can work with him, and that video would actually be designed, I may not even release it on YouTube, but it would be designed to send to him to introduce a type of game and how we might be able to use it. So I'm glad you're interested to see what comes of it. I may, if we actually create a game, I may release it to a small community and ask folks if it is awful or good, because neither of us have ever made a game before. So we're gonna mess around with that. This one, however, because I didn't talk about that at all, I can release on YouTube. I might not release the other one on YouTube just because we may go ahead and create the game, and I wouldn't want to have that on YouTube ahead of creating the game. But I figure I'm comfortable streaming about it with y'all here on Twitch. So maybe that's what I'll do on Wednesday. I think I'm going to advance this account just a little bit so folks can see some of the later content, so I can talk about how that would be used within the game as well. Fortunately, I can play it in an emulator on there. Emulator is not the word, and I can't think of the word all of a sudden. No, I think it is emulator. But I will play it in BlueStacks for a while on my computer and let it run itself. There's a lot of that in this game. So yeah, I hope that you get some rest. I really do. I mean, if you're in isolation, I suppose that you don't have much to do but get some rest. But I really do hope that you feel better soon. I have to sign off so I can eat lunch before my kids get home from school. That's when I have to. So this will be around when I stream, simply because I want to be done with my stream before the kids get home from school, and I have to do things like make sure they stay focused on their homework. So that's what I have to do now, and if I want to have lunch before that happens, I need to drop off for now. But hopefully I will see you again soon, and I'll have additional time to go through this. I'm trying to be more consistent, and I have a ton of games I want to play. So I have a game called Heal Hitler that has to do with... Oh, I should have told King Tavis about this while he was here. It has to do with using Freud and Jungian principles to try to heal Hitler and prevent World War II. So I'm very excited about playing that, and I really wanted King Tavis to be here for that. And I have, what are the other games? I don't remember, but that's the one that I'm very excited about playing with King Tavis. It's called Heal Hitler, H-E-A-L, Hitler. And it's trying to basically use psychology to prevent World War II by taking away all of these neuroses that we know Hitler had, because he was very mentally unhealthy. So I'm very excited about playing that, and I know nothing about Freud and Jung, but apparently that's who you have to work with in playing Heal Hitler. So hopefully I can catch King Tavis, and I can send him a message and get him involved, because he'll know more about that, and maybe we could actually prevent World War II in that process. So yeah, I do have a lot of games that I am excited to play, although I won't play that one without King Tavis, because it would just be wrong to do that. But I have a bunch of games that I'm interested in playing and talking about, and a bunch of topics that I want to get into. So I hope that I will be streaming more frequently, and that I do a good job with everything else, so that I have time during the semester. So yeah, you go get dinner, enjoy dinner, and get plenty of rest. I hope you feel better soon. I'm glad that you don't have a fever anymore. And I will catch you hopefully on Wednesday. See ya.